Hello guys, Linker here with a little bit of a different podcast. This is going to be similar to the one we had with me, but in this one we're going to have an Ask Me Anything. So I posted questions over the community tab. Obviously you guys ask me in comments all the time, but in this one I'm going to focus on all kinds of questions you have about who I am, what's my role in the game, any kind of game related questions. And with me I have a very special guest that's going to be asking me these. He can vouch that I did not prepare for these and he's just going to throw these randomly at me. I'll probably edit them on screen. Why won't you introduce yourself?
Oh, what's going on, guys? My name is Algorithm. I've been playing this game for about a year and a half, and I am here for my voice.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, so first on the question block, Andrew asked, with the recent changes, mainly to campaign, has stargazing priority changed after ascending the God comp? Who would come next after this for campaign? Khazard, Orthos, Zolrath, or Lucretia?
That's a great question. Like the recent changes to campaign, the whole thing is the idea is that you can retry more and the campaign was nerfed. So this really changed priorities around. I actually had a video about this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but about stargazing priority that since then got outdated for various reasons, both the campaign changes and the hero reworks. So the biggest one I think is going to be Lucretia. Lucretia has seen a major change. She's up there. I think twins are still going to be the first one you want to get because Talene you can sub for Source. Talene is also somewhere up there in that list. And you also will want to grab Aziz one time or another. And the few changes that have been made is that Lucretia moved slightly up and Zolrath is still up there, perhaps because he retains his PvP rankings. Orthos went down. I think I'll make a video about it in this soon time.
Sounds good. Next up is HL Pimp. He's like, sup, man? Any insights on Isolde's SI damage reduction stealth change? The Chinese community just blew up starting a few days ago. Something about his SI effect used to stack every time an enemy dies, but now it only refreshes.
Oh, that's a good one. I heard of it, but I haven't looked deep into it. I know that Shay is one user that always looked at things and translate them, and I have White Sushi who keeps posting stuff and translate them himself. This is one I haven't looked into, honestly. Like, I see the idea behind it. I see why it would be concerning for priorities as a whole, and I'll have to look at that and get back to you.
Alrighty. Vlad asks, after getting Talene at Mythic, do you recommend continuing stargazing for her until she's ascended, or to stargaze twins to Mythic and after get Talene ascended?
Oh, I love this one because there's a lot of stuff about stargazing that has changed. I feel like Talene to Mythic is still going to be very beneficial, but until you get the whole God comp, she can play a support role decently well. So in the current meta, I would do Talene to Mythic and then Twins to Ascended, yes.
So this is one I've had a question on. What do you think of using non-DPS heroes as fodder after ascending them instead of raising stars?
Yeah, so there's going to be different priorities to heroes and stars, what you want to do. Virtually the point where you have all these heroes that are less prioritized to ascend in the first place, because obviously heroes like Lorsan, you don't need them ascended. So once you get them, you will have a window where you can get stars on them or use them as fodder. I think this is a case by case basis because I could see the account which would need them, but in the end, you want to ascend all heroes to get the benefit. And these heroes are usually good in the first place, right? So even Lorsan, for example, that's one hero you usually say you don't need stars on him. In PvP, he does have a use. So it's kind of a case by case where you'd have to look to determine.
Right, especially with all of the reworks coming in. CKY asked, you made a post on Reddit about the Elder Tree upgrades. He says, I think he's asking, is sustenance still the best option, or what build order do you recommend? Problem with leveling branches is, for me, often being capped with the main tree.
Yeah, so I think he's referring to a Reddit post I did way back about planning. Pretty old, but it aged relatively well. The only near information I have at the moment is the way that once you get to 77, the trees scale exponentially. So you really want to rush, like once you get your celerity to 50, you might want to rush sustenance all the way to 77. I still think sustenance is the best tree hero-wise. I think celerity is the best tree ability-wise. The big thing I can say, though, before I make any further guides, I know Grub is a trusted community member I've had on this channel a couple times. He's working on a very extensive guide, diving into stats, explaining how flat stats make a lot of difference in LC. He's really, he has a crazy thing going on. And once he follows up with that, I think we'll all be smarter. And then maybe I can make my own follow-up or just link you guys to that.
All right. Banana asked the most important question of the entire podcast. May I simp for you? But he does have a real question. He does have a real question here. He's like, what are any hidden anti-synergies in the game? How to work around them? Or if you will be given the chance, what will you change?
Oh, I love that. So synergies, unlike counters, this is stuff that goes within your own comp. I had the one synergy talk with Aim, and he really put an emphasis about all kinds of niche things that most people don't know. For anti-synergies, obvious examples include, for example, Zolrath and Flora. So Zolrath, he wants to die last, but with Flora, he cannot die last and proc his Deja Vu. So there's some heroes that just don't go very well together. And I think it's a pretty interesting topic because these are things that would be new mistakes to avoid. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video on this, but basically the idea is that around the cores that you make, around the common cores, 5-pole core, around the God comp core, you'll mostly see heroes that work really, really well. So these kinds of the way of the community to make you avoid anti-synergies and fall into those traps that will later get you a less efficient comp. And I think the one single piece of advice I would have for you, if you're trying to discover what are good mistakes to avoid, just experiment, trial and error, see what works for you, and from that, reason out what doesn't.
A question that kind of goes along with that from Brent is, what hero niches do the 4 main factions need filled most right now?
So what do they need? I guess that's in terms of what new heroes will we need, or what are stuff that we look for. So every time they introduce a big carry, I feel like it really, really changes things around. You could look at just what's used to understand what we need. So for example, Rowan. Why is Rowan so strong? He's just an auxiliary hero that does amazing support. If you had a second Rowan, you can be pretty sure that he'll see usage all around the place. So I feel like amazing carries are always ones that you'll have to look out for. Stuff like Isolde introduction, for example, or Aaron introduction way back in the day. These are ones that you'll need to look for. I feel like very strong CC heroes like Tassie, that's consistent. Unlike Pipa, I feel Pipa is a more niche carving kind of thing, and the general use is going to be a consistent CC hero. And the third category would be just general support. Think of Rowan, think of Rosaline, anything to that effect that can somehow interact with heroes. Maybe something that grants attack speed to carriers like Gwyneth or Aaron. We'll always find some sort of usage, and it's something that we really look out for in new heroes.
Good info. This kind of goes off of that a little bit, extends on it. What is your opinion on the new dimensional heroes that have been added into the game? If you could pick any character and put them into AFKArena, who would you pick and why? That was from One Chaos.
Personally, and I know this is a hot take, I'm not a huge fan of dimensional heroes. I know when they take cool concepts from games and stuff that I do know, like Overlord or something like that, it's really fun. But what I personally really enjoy about the game is just the heroes that are very well designed. I feel like a good example of this would be, for example, Aaron. A hero like that I like a lot, even though it's not dimensional. Takes way less work, takes way less effort, takes way less money, which frees the dev team to address other issues that I feel like the game still has. And one character I would put into AFKArena, well, this is going to be in niche. I think I'll pull up an image in editing, but it's a character from a game I used to play called Dungeons & Dragons Online. It's called Sulamadis. He's just an evil demon kind of guy. And I feel like he's really badass. He does like lightning attacks. He does all kinds of things. He's a really interesting character. And I feel like having a boss demon lord thing just kind of engaged in AFKArena would give it a cool like kind of vibe. I know he's kind of an Hypogean in nature, but if you would make him a dimensional, this is one I would be interested to see.
Sounds good. TB asks, are Lightbearers becoming the weakest faction, especially when it comes to in-game?
Oh, wow. Yeah, they used to be the best. Like in the old days, in the old Belinda carry days, right after the Brutus reign, you had Rowan, Rosaline, Belinda sets, Lucia sets all over the place, especially when Chapter 28 was endgame. And since then, they definitely fell down. So one thing that happened to me recently is that obviously in Wilder Tower, most people are ahead of Lightbearer Tower, because Aaron is more easy to fit on those hard comps than Gwyneth is. Aaron never loses that hard, even against Brutus, like Gwyneth does against mobile backlines like Kelther and Nara. I can see how Lightbearers fell from grace. I can see how Lightbearers are the second or third best faction right now, with Graveborns on the rise, with heroes like Isolde, Silas, Damon. And I still think Lightbearers are better than Maulers. You still have this strong core support, you see. You can't forget Rowan, who's the single best hero in the game, in my opinion, running up there with Talene. You can't forget Rosaline, who's really, really flexible, especially in the early game, but also in the late on those Gwyneth comps. So I feel there's somewhere between second and third. I still don't think they're last, but it definitely falling from grace recently. So I'd love to see a strong library introduction sometime soon.
Great. One Chaos asks another one. I want to ask you, who do you think are the most underrated heroes in AFKArena that most people look past in terms of meta play and even PvE?
Oh, good one. Well, I have a couple. I talk about this with all kinds of people on the podcast sometimes, but one that I didn't talk about in depth is Verk. I love him against invades. I love him as a counter matchup. And I'm talking about PvP too. So PvP has plenty heroes that invade. You see Athalia, you see Tidus and Aaron course for some of those newer players. Like you see a lot of things that invade. And I think one thing that they might be missing on is how good Verk can be. So he's one of those characters. I wouldn't recommend everybody to invest in him before the meta heroes, but I feel like people are undervaluing him at the moment.
Sergi, you probably pronounced that wrong. Sorry. He's saying, can you do a draw my life or something? Tell us your life story or some interesting stories from your life that you want to share.
Oh, this is more personal than the other ones. Well, I'm fine with that. I wouldn't draw my life because I'm bad at drawing, but I can tell a brief idea of it. I think me and Vulcan had a good discussion at his channel the other day. He was asking me a little bit about my childhood. I talk about how I always liked hacking in computers as a child. So my first dream was always to hack into something. And I essentially did everything I could to get into that. I'm a military veteran, and my military service, I did kind of professionalize in that. And that's what I do for a living. And then my second dream was always kind of content creation and gaming and everything like that. And that's what I'm doing now. So essentially, every time I look at something I really want and I try to do it. And an interesting story might be what's the next one. And my next plan for my life right now is to move in with my girlfriend. Her name's Noah. Love her a lot. And we're thinking about it right now. So that's what's concerning me most of the time.
Yali Gold, why do you hate Thorn Cheese so much, yet agrees to lend it and then use it?
Oh my God. Yali's a long-time member of the Discord, a lovely person. But sadly, is just a Thorn lover. Thorn Cheese lover. I love defensive Thorn. I feel like offensive Thorn is a poor man's strategy. On a serious note, it works. It's really meta. I don't advocate against it. I just personally dislike it. It's kind of a personal hunch kind of thing. But yeah, at chapter 32, stuff like that, I mercilessly marked Thorn plus 30 just to get through stages. But I just personally don't like it. So, in my campaign progress, I've tried to do chapter 34 without any Thorn, just to prove that you can do it without any offensive Thorn per se. You can use them defensively, just to guard and CC. It's just a channel thing. That's what I do. And yeah, if you like Thorn Cheese, I've had people on the channel that love it a lot. I've had a podcast with Athene, and he went in depth about how you can optimize the haze to really, really pull it off. But that's it. I just don't like it that much.
I understand that for sure. Grant Nolan asks, do you play any other games besides AFKArena? If so, what are they?
Oh, that's a good one. So I used to play a lot of games. I do Among Us sometimes with the boys. I love some stuff like World of Warcraft, Dungeons & Dragons Online. I mentioned it earlier. So I have a couple games that I really like. Sometimes I move on stuff with my friends. So there's Spellbreaker that we tried, didn't like, or did like. I had Genshin Impact that I played for a while. I liked it. The Discord hated it. I quit it. Let me set the record straight. I quit Genshin Impact because I did not want to get into the grind. I experimented with it. I think it's a wonderful game. And yeah, I'm not planning, I'll do a follow-up question that wasn't asked. Some people ask me if I'm planning to move into another game. I'm not planning anything like that. I'm really enjoying AFKArena and what I'm doing. I know I'm losing subs. If I made my guides to Genshin Impact, I would probably be way higher. But I'd rather do what's fun for me. And that's the same kind of reason that so far my channel hasn't had this structure except the podcast that I do every Friday. Because I do what I enjoy doing. And I think that's what people really come to my channel to do. They enjoy when I'm happy, then people see that right away and they can tell I'm enthusiastic and I care. And if I do something that I didn't like, then they wouldn't be. So I'm trying to kind of integrate those things. If you talk about other games, I play for fun a lot of games. I've given some examples. But yeah, my channel is going to keep being AFKArena related for anything soon.
All right. The Soldier asks about any other passions that you may have in life, hobbies, things of that nature.
Oh, okay. So I have a bunch. I have a few. I like fitness. I'm a big fitness enthusiast. I used to weightlift quite some. I like running. I know that's a little bit boring, though. I love other games a lot. I like hacking, like I mentioned. I like going out with my friends. I don't like TV shows a lot, but a good movie I would enjoy. I love, especially like in my area of profession, I've recently found out that I can easily like link people together. So, so I would like help people like find a job in these times. That's another thing I kind of invest in, and sometimes volunteer. So that's what I do most of the time.
Awesome, awesome. Austin asks, do you believe that the priority of Slepigeans have changed in terms of stargazing? Are we still at God Comp first and then expand, or how would you work that?
Oh, all right. So Celepogians in general. So earlier we talked about the God Comp, how it still takes priority above Lucretia. But the rest of them, like in terms of stargazing. So as I talked in the other video, when I talked about the endgame changes, I think stargazing as a whole is better because you're going to need consistency. You are going to be min powered and you'll use probably faction heroes for the first few sets, but having the right KT set that's more consistent is going to help you not get stuck in the long term. So I think as a whole, stargazing is better. I think getting Celepogians is better. Stuff like Zoroath or Zafriel for PvP, for example, or Twins for the TR bosses is going to be things that you'll be looking forward more to grab now with all the recent changes to the game. And obviously, any hero that's reworked. So Lucretia, I think, is going to be definitely the top 4 to get right now. She's really, really strong. We're still testing her. But anything to that extent, or Miss Zoth for PvP, for example, is much better than it used to be.
Okay. I actually had a question. What is the SI 30 priority amongst all of the dimensionals currently released?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a great one. I'll go because we tested this because initially we saw Albedo and Heinz, and the idea was that Albedo bonus was just so good. The issue with Albedo bonus is that it's flat bonus to attack that's additive is our current estimate because we tested it. And Heinz 30, Albedo 20 does more damage than Heinz 20, Albedo 30, which is like, it's really weird because Albedo buffs higher attack and Heinz only does that 1 damage on the ultimate. And apparently Heinz 30 is just more important. Maybe it's the stat and the signature item, but my current priorities would be for most players, would be Heinz, Albedo, Arthur, unless you're a Gwyneth main, and then it would be Arthur, Heinz, Albedo. And then you're left with the other ones that you'll need more late game. So Ezio is great. I would definitely do Ezio, and Leslie Naka. Ukyo is another one, but I feel like Ukyo is less common to see in campaign, so I'd put him in the very bottom of that priority list.
Definitely good information. Syndex asks, what would you like to see, or what do you think might come to the future of AFKArena?
All right, another great one. So I think for the future, and that's a good I think that's a good note to end it on. I'm very optimistic about the direction they're taking the game. Like you see the dev Q&A that happened recently. You see how they respond to the fact that we said, for example, there's too much abyssal, there's so much things that are active. So I think they're very aware of what they're doing. I think the recent hero introductions are very deep. I think the recent events, like we saw that one event like Battles of Blood with the cars that allows free-to-play players to compete at the highest levels, was wonderful. So honestly, I'm just very optimistic overall. I want to see more events like this. I want the game to kind of embrace the AFK nature. I want it to avoid the different traps that are set for its progress, like power creep, or like becoming more too idle and hoarding oriented, or becoming too active. I think it's on a sweet spot. And if the developers just manage to kind of carry through that route, I think the game's going to grow, and I think it's going to find new audience, and I think it's going to be wonderful.
Well, this has been an amazing compilation of information here. I really appreciate it. I'm sure your viewers will too. And I am very excited, going along with that last question, to see what the Lilith developers and team bring to the table, because that's one thing that really separates the game from others that I've played, is their involvement with the community. So that'll be nice to see.
Definitely. Thank you, Algorithm, for coming on, guys. Add Algorithm as a friend, all 3,000 of you. Name is Rory Mad Dinosaur. Add that guy right in. Thank you very much for coming on. And I hope you guys like this. Let me know below what you think, and if you have any further question. And I've been Linker. Peace.